What's going on, everyone? It's me, Lone. Welcome to episode 8 of LoneVaultRadio, the video games podcast where I invite my friends, other content creators, and industry colleagues to talk all things games. In today's episode, I'm continuing my journey of assembling the YouTube Avengers, if you will. We have another fellow YouTuber who covers games like Borderlands and Mass Effect and Bethesda games as well, including Doom, hence today's episode, Dantics. What's going on, brother? Thank you for joining me, man.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Really proud to be here. I wouldn't say I'm an Avenger of any kind. I mean, maybe Hawkeye. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Short.
No, I honestly appreciate it. I mean, it's been you, it's been G-Man, it's been Maddie, it's been Juicehead. Like, I had this list of guys that I just wanted to get first, and you were absolutely there, and I appreciate you joining because it's perfect timing, man. You and I both have been playing Doom the Dark Ages. Like, when we're recording this, the embargo drops tonight in a few hours, so I wanted to get Dantics on here to chat about the game, our experiences playing. Bethesda has sent both of us code, so we've been deep in it, we've been playing, we want to share our thoughts and impressions. But first of all, man, I just want to ask how you're doing. How are you doing? How is YouTube? How is life at the moment? You and I haven't had a proper chat in a good few months, so tell everyone how you've been, man.
Well, it's been since PAX, hasn't it?
It has been PAX. PAX Oz, yeah.
Yeah, PAX was the last time we caught up, and I would love to do it more often, but life has just been busy, to answer your question. I have a cafe, for those who don't know, and that has been just my priority for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years now. Unfortunately, I opened during COVID, so it's been very difficult. So just before COVID, December 2020, I think it was, we opened, and then immediately January COVID hit. So I had 2 years of lockdown in Victoria, Australia, where we are. So we were struggling to keep that alive. So now we're kind of playing catch up with that. And unfortunately, that meant content creation took a bit of a hit. I was doing really well online, and my channel was booming, and then suddenly I only had 1 or 2 days to start working on that. So I'm trying to get back into it. But we're going to play some Borderlands 4 very soon. We're playing Doom right now, and I'm really excited to get back into it. So what about yourself? How you been?
Man. Dude, I've been good. I mean, like you with work has been crazy busy. Like, I went overseas recently, and it's hard to balance content creation, man. Especially like you in the hospitality world, like and starting in the middle of COVID or at the start of COVID when you obviously had no idea, it just would have rocked your world. Hey.
Yeah, completely. We had to adapt. We had to change what we were doing, our approach. We had to change to mostly a takeaway only service because, for those who don't know, Victoria, Australia was locked down for 2 years. You weren't allowed to leave your house unless you were working. So we had to come up with a way to make it so people could still spend money with us. And unfortunately, that lasted 2 years. But yeah, it's just been rolling with the punches. We're starting a new takeaway menu there as well. So it's going really well. We're extremely popular with a really high rating. We're always fully booked. So we're doing good. I can't complain about that, but it does take a lot of time.
Yeah. I mean, look, hopefully you can find some more time to do some content creation because, man, you make some awesome stuff. And speaking of, I'm assuming you're doing something for Doom the Dark Ages. I'm not too sure if you're dropping a full review.
Absolutely. I'm dropping a review. I normally don't drop reviews because I find them a bit ambiguous. It's hard to really get between the 7 and the 10 score, isn't it? That is really the new 1 to 10, isn't it? I think until review scores change, I'm kind of just in the mindset to be like, look, this is what I like. These are the kinds of games I like. Yeah. If you look at my reviews or my gameplay impressions, if you have similar mind, maybe you should pick this up. But if not, then it might not be for you.
I mean, and that's why you're here, bro. On a podcast episode, you'll be able to go into the detail and the nuance that is kind of hard to do in a review video.
Absolutely.
So I want to pick your brain. I usually have a full agenda, and I'm like, all right, here's everything that we're going to hit. But I find sometimes the best discussions are the ones that just free flow, and we just hit point to point naturally. So let me just ask you, you've played Doom the Dark Ages, you finished the game. What do you think of Doom the Dark Ages? And we'll go from there.
It's a really hard one because you know what you're getting when you pick up a Doom game. It's almost like going to a fancy restaurant and ordering the chicken. It's like, it's never going to be terrible, but it's never going to reach those highs where you go, wow, this is mind-blowing. I've never had anything like this before. And
Okay.
that's how I felt about Doom: The Dark Ages. It was a good game, but there wasn't the highs you'd get from, a game like GTA 6 might give you when that comes out. But at the same time, I wasn't feeling like I was let down at all. It did everything right. It just didn't do everything amazing, if that makes sense. So how do you feel about it?
It's very hard, man, because we are coming off the high of Doom Eternal, and I don't know what your review or your impressions of Doom Eternal was, but Doom Eternal was such a fantastic game, man. Like it was. I remember I was at Bethesda during those times, but trying to play in the most unbiased way possible, given I worked at the company.
I think you actually gave me early access from memory.
I think I did. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We were doing the local review codes and everything like that. So we got you and a few others, like G-Man, I believe, involved as well.
So actually at PAX we were talking about it. We had a lunch. We had a lunch over it.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. We were outside having a beer. Yeah, I remember those days. So when I played, I know, dude, we're getting friggin' old, bro. When I was playing Doom Eternal as a Bethesda employee, right, I tried to take my own bias. I'm like, all right, what do I actually think of this game? And it was genuinely incredible, right? Like all the discussions that I've had with people, freaking love Doom Eternal. So that's where we're coming from, and it's hard to top that. It's always going to be hard to top a game like that with the hype that it had and the incredible things that it achieved. So heading into Doom: The Dark Ages, that was my immediate comparison. And it took me a while to adjust. Like when you were at the preview session, not the same days as me, but with that preview session, I got my ass handed to me, man. Yes. I got my ass it was just horrible. I just
couldn't get my head around it at the time because I just played Eternal to kind of prep myself for it.
Probably the worst thing you could have done.
Yeah, the worst thing, because my Twitch reflexes were like tuned incorrectly. And then I picked it up and played it at my own pace with this preview build. And it was a completely different story. I didn't die a single time, but I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about that soon.
We are. But that was Doom Eternal was my comparison. So the way that I like to describe Doom: The Dark Ages is that it is a fun game. When you play through the game and you're watching the cutscenes and everything, it feels like a feel good movie. Like I'm going to watch an Avengers movie or a Marvel movie or something like that. You go in there. You're going to have a fun time. Like I had fun shooting demons. I had fun watching the cutscenes. Some of the weapons are just so satisfying. Some aren't. The chain shot is like one of my favorite weapons in Doom ever. It's just always satisfying. It was always my go-to. So I enjoyed it, but there are things like, and we can get into this, difficulty being one of them, some of the other weapons being one of them, where it's just like, I don't think it reached the highs of Doom Eternal, but it's a solid game. If you were to ask me from what my review was out of 10, I'd give it a solid 8. I think an 8 is pretty fair. So how do you feel?
I feel like a 7 to 8 is a good range for this game. Like you were saying, the story, man, it was kind of like that Marvel vibe, but like a bad Marvel movie.
Yeah,
but it was,
and we won't spoil it, by the way. We'll talk generally about it, but yeah.
Yeah, we won't spoil what happens, but so it's like a Marvel movie and a chicken dinner, right? That's both of ours together. It works kind of like that. It's the weapons, like you mentioned, the storyline I didn't love, and there were some little things here and there that I think didn't sing. One of them was they held your hand a little too hard in that every single thing that you need to parry was green. Was just as green absolutely everywhere. And you'll actually see in my review, I call it the green ages because it's like non-stop green. The arm is green. Where you need to throw your sword, where you need to throw your shield is green. Everything you parry is green. All the enemies are green. All the bullets are green. It's like just green everywhere. And this is a Doom game. It's meant to be dark and gritty and gothic. And I just felt like there was just too much neon. That really kind of threw down the score a little bit for me. What did you think about all that?
Well, it wasn't even necessarily like, I get why you had the alternate colors, because red you can't parry, you just got to block if you're in that position, or avoid. Obviously, green are the ones that you can. But it's the whole parrying system is a big thing to talk about, because you find yourself, especially if you want to increase the difficulty, and we'll talk about difficulty because I have thoughts about that too, but you are having to over rely. It is like playing it, you're going to have to engage in parrying if you want to be able to progress and kill a lot of these demons, because that's how you have to take some of them down, and utilizing the new shield saw to do it. And parts of me love the shield saw, but like if you just don't vibe with that, lots of parrying, lots of blocking, and then you take your shot. If you don't vibe with that style of gameplay, especially compared to Doom Eternal, it's very different. Then it's just not gonna work for you.
Yeah,
and then that gets to the whole how Doom the Dark Ages feels compared to Doom Eternal. Because Doom Eternal, they've said this, they wanted to do something different. It was very jump and shoot, lots of verticality, lots of using the grappling hook and moving around fast. Every arena that you got to, you were stuck and you had to just survive. Whereas with Doom the Dark Ages, it's way more slow paced. It's heavier. The way you move left to right and strafe. You can back out of combat scenarios if you're feeling overwhelmed and then come back into it, because oftentimes you're not being trapped. Sometimes you are, but oftentimes you're like, oh, I can't do this enemy right now. I'm just going to hide behind this wall for a little bit and compose myself. It's way more slower paced. Did you feel the same thing as well?
Absolutely. I felt like it gave you more room to breathe, even in the combat moments where it's like there's a lot of demons coming at you. You have to parry every half second. It still felt like you could breathe. There used to be in Eternal the combat finishing animations. That's was right. My moment to breathe in those fights. It's like this massive combat arena. Finish someone so I can just like take a second and be like, all right, where is everything? But
it was a reprieve.
It was a reprieve, but there is constant reprieves in the Dark Ages, which is great. I actually like the fact that you can take a second and be like, all right, what should I do next?
Okay. All right, cool.
I appreciate that, but at the same time, I do miss Eternal's fast pace, kind of like almost like playing Mario Kart, where it's like your heart is just constantly pumping, like you're about to get hit by something. That's how it felt. In the Dark Ages, you did have a slower paced combat. Everything does move kind of the same speed. You're not jumping around as much. Everything feels weightier, and I think it's just because of the shield that you feel like things are a bit easier. You feel like you've got a bit more time to do things, because as you know, you can hold the shield up and just block everything. There's a little bar. Once that bar goes down, you can't use the shield anymore. But it was very rare for that to go all the way down with how I was using it. You know, I'd see a shot, I'd block it. I'd run around, I'd block a melee attack, and parrying doesn't reduce that bar at all. So if you got the timing right, it felt like you're almost immortal for a large period of time. So, I mean, did you feel the same way?
Yeah, and this gets into the discussion about difficulty, man. So as I alluded to before in the preview build that we played, and I talked about this in my impressions of the preview build. Preview builds are hard because you only have a few hours to get acquainted with everything, to get up to speed. We had a bit of an opening tutorial level, which was effectively like the opening level in the game as well. But then it was like, boom, Atlan, boom, Dragon, boom, you're in the big open world area and just fend for yourself. So we were kind of thrown in, and I think that's why a lot of us struggled. Whereas now when we're playing Doom of the Dark Ages, from the beginning, from the get-go, we can pace ourselves. We had like up to a week or something like that with this build, right? We were able to be like, all right, let me get used to things. Let me figure out what's what. I'm on my own setup. And I found the game very easy. So like with every game, Doom included, playing on normal or Hurt Me Plenty, I just wasn't dying. I wasn't dying, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm so good, look at me, right? It was more like, I know that like I'm not the best at FPSs out there. I'm not the best at shooters. Why am I not struggling as much as I thought I would? I never died. I increased it to ultra violence, and even then, unless I just made a stupid mistake, I never really found myself dying either, unless I was testing things for like recording a gameplay or whatever. But aside from that, if I was just playing normally, there were situations where I got destroyed and had to back away. But I could easily circumvent that, and I just found the game to be on the easier side. Were those your thoughts as well?
Completely the same. I got destroyed in the preview event. Absolutely destroyed. The cyber demons, I just couldn't get the parrying right. I was like, okay, they told us before we started playing that we have to brawl with them. So I got in close, I blocked their attacks, and I just kept dying. I had no idea why. I looked back at the footage later and figured out that he was stomping the ground and creating these spikes, and that was killing me over time. But then when I tried it with this build, the first cyber demon I faced, I don't think he even hit me. And this was the first time I faced him. It didn't make any sense to me. And then going back and looking at all the footage, I realized that the difficulty hadn't really changed. It was just the fact that you kind of get taught how to use the shield and use the mechanics over those first few missions a lot better than you would if you just jumped from one to the next. So I bumped up the difficulty because I didn't die through the whole game at all, not a single time. And I'm like you, not very good at first-person shooters. So I thought, all right, well, I'll restart it and I'll put it on Nightmare and see how I go. And the difficulty didn't come from the fact that things got harder. It just got harder to do things, if that makes sense. Am I making sense, or am I...
No, I get what you're saying, man. I do. Like, when I went from Hurt Me Plenty to Ultra Violence, it really was like the occasions that you happen to get hit, I found myself getting hit a little bit harder. But when it came to parrying and maneuvering around the map and just like, I focus on this one enemy, try and get rid of it, and then I move on to the next. Like, those moments weren't necessarily harder. It was more when you slipped up and made a mistake, you got punished a little bit more for it. It's a weird one because like I like the fact that they've tried something different. I was saying this, and I stand by it. We didn't just want more. Some people probably wanted more Doom Eternal 2.0.
Yeah.
But I fundamentally believe that they needed to try something different to freshen up the formula and to mix it up, to say that this is a new standalone game. The way that they did it makes sense. You got your shield because it's like a medieval Doom and it's like heavier and weighted. You feel more like a tank. It all makes sense in terms of the lore and the vibe of the game as well. But because of that, it's a bit of a slower paced, at times easier game. And I don't know how people are going to feel about that compared to Doom Eternal, where, as you said, man, your heart was pumping in every arena.
Every single arena. Well, one of my theories on the fact that it's easier is not because of the mechanics per se. Like, I actually like the mechanics. I like that slower paced. You can block. You can tackle things kind of like strategically. The problem was the enemy variety. Now, we had, your basic imps, your basic soldiers, your basic zombies, and you could take them out with just a single shield throw. It just trivialized all of those enemies. You just hold down your shield button and you press another button and you shield slam into them, and it just vaporizes everything in that AoE. So you've got 4 or so enemy types that are almost non-existent, even though they're there. They're just scrubs. Then you have other enemies that all just kind of follow the same pattern. You have cyber demons, Agagon hunters or something along those lines.
Oh, the hunter. Oh, I want to talk about those. Those frustrated me, but yeah, go on.
The Komodos and there's a new enemy, the Komodos and the Cosmic Barons. Now they're new enemies, but they follow the same pattern. They just come in at you, strike you with green fuzz, and as soon as that happens, you just parry, and then you just hit them. There was nothing more to those fights, and because there was nothing more, it never really got any more difficult. On Ultra Nightmare, which I tried out, it's just the parry window that really gets me. It's like you're going to be perfect with the parry window, and if you're not, they hit you and you die because like one hit almost kills you. Whereas on a regular difficulty, you got a bit more of a window, and that makes it more enjoyable, but it also makes it a lot more easy because these enemies don't have anything else they can do to you besides just run at you and hope you don't parry. So those are my thoughts. I think it's the enemy variety that really made it so combat felt easier than it should be.
That's a really good point, man. I think you've actually you've nailed it. A lot of these enemies, they would do the same attacks every time that you encountered them. There was no like vast variety or anything. Like, when you encountered this enemy, this is what I've got to do. It's going to do this one attack. Sometimes I can't remember what they were called. The guys that were like, they were riding the demon with the arrow.
Yeah, the Pinky Riders.
Yeah, so sometimes like their attacks would differ. Sometimes it was a straight arrow shot, and other times it was the slower like slice.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
And if they're armored, they have different attacks because they'll send out the arrows, but the arrows will now block your bullets, right? Encouraging you again to get up close and then parry, and it's like,
But eventually you'd figure out all the varieties and you'd be ready for everything. But what you just said about increasing the difficulty, really, it's down to the parrying. So long as you can get the parrying right, everything flows. And I think this game does have an over-reliance on the parrying, and therefore it has an over-reliance on the shield as well. Because talking about the shield a little bit more, I kept forgetting, and I don't know why, but you can use the shield just to impale enemies and it spins in them and it stops them in their tracks.
Yep.
That is so overpowered, bro.
It's crazy good. It is crazy good. Yeah, I used it a lot with the super shotgun because you just throw it at a big demon. Big demon will just be like, I'm stunned. Boom. Walk up, boom, one hit kill. And that's the other thing. Super shotgun, one hit kill on most things that aren't armored, which is ridiculous, man. That just made it so easy.
The ghost phantasm enemies that would throw the skulls at you. You know those ones?
The revenants, yeah.
So that how they would go invisible and then you have to parry them to try and make sure they weren't invisible, right? I just found with them that if you just bum rush them as soon as you saw them and super shotgun them, one shot dead.
Yep, exactly right. And there was the Impaler too, which you get very early. It was like this spike throwing gun. And if you get good at getting the headshots, which I think they didn't assume you would get if you're playing on consoles, but on PC it's super easy. So it kind of just like locks onto their head for some reason, which you can't really tune. It kills almost everything instantly. The Imp Stalkers, which throw those kind of cross green bullets at you. Those are instant killed by it. The Hell Knights, which kind of charge you and are meant to be this kind of like disruption in the middle of the arena, they can be one shot with the Impaler as well. The Mancubi or the Mancubus or whatever you call them, you can just leave them until the end. They're not even a threat, but you can just stand back and just impale them with this one gun. It's just, And then there's some guns to lead into the different weapons.
Let's do it, man.
That felt a bit useless.
Okay, can I talk about the one gun that is useless, and I think you're going to agree? It's the pulverizer, right? The one that...
Thank you.
It chews up the skull. That one, it just never felt good to me. Like, it felt like the whole purpose of this gun, right, is it's meant to be used when there's a lot of enemies, but it's only effective on the scrub enemies, which you can just run into with a shield anyways and destroy them instantly. So I never found myself using the pulverizer, and it's one of the coolest reload mechanics in a game ever.
It's got the coolest reload mechanics. It looks awesome. It's just a great, well-designed gun, except for the gameplay. The gameplay is just, like you said, it's just meant for the scrubs. It's meant for your basic enemies, your imps, your zombies, your soldiers, and then it's got a short range as well, so it's kind of like a shotgun. And it clears out these scrubs where it would take longer to clear them out than if you just threw your shield or just shield slammed them in the first place. And there's no reason to not do that, because you don't have to change your weapon to throw your shield out. So there's not an animation that you have to go through. So you can keep your super shotgun in hand, for example, and still clear the scrubs. But switching to this gun means that when you do come against something that's going to give you trouble, some of these bigger enemies, your Hell Knights, your chain gun soldiers that have that big shield and they kind of sit behind it, you can't really break their shield with this gun. The cyber demons, all of those guys, you're not going to do any damage to them with this thing.
No.
And what's the point of using it? You have to use the better version of it, which is called the Ravager, because it has this tighter spread. But it's almost like these two guns are the same thing. They should have just had a mode switch.
Yep.
Did you try the Ravager?
Can I ask you about this? Because I don't know how I feel about it. And I know that it's not a new thing. But you know how you pick up two varieties of the same weapon, right? So it was the combat shotgun and the super shotgun, and then a few other examples as you went along. I never found the need to swap between those two. So then I was like, would it have been better just to have the 6 or 7 weapons and just have those be the main ones? Because as soon as you get the second version, when I got the Cycler, I never had a reason to go back to the other one, especially once you upgrade it. It was so powerful. So I just kept using it.
Yeah, so I actually worked on the video about all the weapons, which is kind of why I know how what they're named. Otherwise, I'd forget about them completely. But so I tried to make all these weapons work. I'm like, what is the use of every single weapon? The combat shotgun, the only reason I can see to use it over the super shotgun, at least at the early stages, is that you can upgrade it so it burns enemies.
For armor?
For armor. That's the only reason. And the only other thing that can do that is your flail. It's a melee weapon that you get pretty early on. And that can be upgraded to do that as well. So if you're finding yourself getting hurt a lot, the combat shotgun could be good, but that just kind of never happens. Because if you're in Ultra Nightmare or in Nightmare, you're getting hurt 1 or 2 times, and the 1 or 2 extra armor you get per shot it's not really that much armor that you get.
It's not worth it.
It's just not worth it. It's just, you rather kill the thing faster.
Mm.
So the combat shotgun's out. Then there's the Shredder versus the Impaler. The Shredder is like your assault rifle. It shoots out these bolts pretty quickly, and then you'll get an upgrade. Well, I think it's an upgrade to the Impaler, which does those headshots, which I talked about before. Sure. And you're just one-shotting all these big demons. What's the point of going back to the Shredder, which takes like 30 or 40 rounds to take them out? It just makes no sense to me. Mm-hmm. But the point of the Shredder was you can stack on bullets like the... Do you know the gun in Halo, the Needler? Do you remember that?
It is like the Needler. It's the Needler. Yeah.
Yeah, because like bullets just like lodge into them, and then you can throw your shield at them or charge them, and it explodes, and it kills things in an AoE.
I will say this: I found the Shredder it was one of my favorite guns. I found it incredibly satisfying to use. I know we're being very constructive in our feedback, and I feel like this is important. I do want to say the Shredder was very fun, especially when you were upgrading and you can choose between the ways that you can upgrade. I love the one where if you impale the shield and then you shoot the shield and it bounces off and gets enemies. That's just a cool concept. I thought that was very fun. I thought that was very clever. But
there needs to be more of that though, right?
You're right. Yes, there did. But then here's the thing, man. Like the useful one was the one where you impaled the shield. When you shot a bunch of them into them and then they would light up and then you threw a shield and explode. Yeah, that is the more useful upgrade, because the other one, it just kills the scrub enemies, which are easy to kill anyways, you know?
Yep. Yeah, there was a lot of that. The Shredder was, overall, it was one of those jack of all trades guns where it's not going to stand out like the super shotgun. It's not going to blow someone's head off instantly, but you can stay at that long range, that medium range, and still be decent. So it was an okay weapon. And the Accelerator versus the Cycler, which is the two plasma guns, you get the Accelerator and it's like a single barrel. It looks really cool. You're like, okay, cool. I know what this does. But then you get the Cycler and it's double the size, and it just looks like it's twice as cool, right?
And you get it so quickly afterwards. It's like
you do
in like the next level or something like that. It was really soon, and I thought, shouldn't we for the first? There's like 22 chapters or something like that, right?
Yep.
You pretty much had most varieties of the weapons by like chapter, I think 9 or 10 or something. And I thought
it was very quick.
It was very quick. Should they have given us more time with the first variants to get some use? And then move on to the next one.
Yeah, there's arguments for both things, right?
Yeah.
I think you're right in that you should have just got the combat shotgun, the Shredder, the Accelerator, the Pulverizer, the Chain Shot, and the Grenade Launcher up front. First 6 kind of missions, get those. And then you start getting the ones that you need to swap between. So the Super Shotgun would come after, right? And then you're like, okay, do I still want to use the combat? And the Rocket Launcher would be last, like it is in this game already, but we got that pretty far back, didn't we? We didn't get along with the rocket launcher.
The rocket launcher, I think, was chapter 10 or 11 or something like that. And that replaced the grenade launcher. And the grenade launcher I never found useful. I never, it didn't have good range.
It's one of those things, right? Like it's just as good as the rocket launcher, but the rocket launcher has all these pros that the grenade launcher doesn't have. Like the grenade launcher does the same amount of damage if you hit something directly, but it clears out all the scrubs, whereas the rocket launcher doesn't really do that. It does, but not to the same extent, because the grenade launcher drops all of these fragmentation kind of grenades that kind of go off themselves.
That's right. Yeah.
If you upgrade it. And so it does do well when there's a big clump of dangerous demons. It does really well, but why not just use the rocket launcher? It does kind of the same thing. Maybe it doesn't clear them out as fast, but it's more accurate. It goes longer. Yes, the rocket doesn't travel very fast, which is its one downside, but you're not going to be using it against those whiplashes or those fast demons.
No.
So once you get the rocket launcher, it feels almost like, all right, this is going to be my offhand weapon. I'm just going to use this all the time. That's how it felt to me, at least. It was just really strong.
Yeah.
Really, really strong. So I'm with you on that. Maybe they should have doled them out a little further apart. And the main offender is the Accelerator and the Cycler. The Cycler came almost just one chapter after. Yep. And I just felt like it just completely replaced it, at least for both of us. But then going
too soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they did well enough explaining the differences between the guns, because going back and testing the Accelerator, it does have its uses. Like it actually is one of the best guns against bosses, because it charges up its fire rate and it does the most amount of DPS out of any gun that you get if you get it up to that fire rate. Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't even know that.
After testing, it and the and the Ravager, once they're fully charged, just rip through bosses' health a lot faster than the Cycler. The Cycler is really good at just like straight away without charging up, ripping through demons. Like it felt like an all-purpose weapon, right?
Yeah.
And it also spread those lightning effects, which make everything take more damage.
That when you upgrade it and it's the purple lightning effects and it's bouncing off different enemies, that is so powerful. So like there were a few weapons that I kept going back to. Super Shotgun, obviously, Cycler, and then the Chain Shot. As I said before, the Chain Shot is so fun and satisfying to use, and it's incredibly powerful, especially, and it goes back to parrying, when you get the upgrade where when you parry, it automatically charges your Chain Shot, and then you just go boom, dead, move on to the next one. Now, it wouldn't one-shot everything, to be completely fair, but I found it to be very effective, especially against armored enemies as well.
They made you good at that.
Correct, but it was always satisfying to use, so I never complained about it.
So
you know?
I tried to stop myself from using it. Would you believe? Like I felt like it was a bit too good. So all right, here's an explanation for those who haven't played yet. It does a big AoE damaging kind of like blast when you hit something when it's fully charged. So it clears the scrubs as well. So it's like a grenade launcher, but it also is incredibly accurate. It has a short range, but it's still longer than, say, the grenade launcher unless you arc it. And the main thing it does, like the Super Shotgun, is it blows off armor. And armor is this kind of defense on a demon that makes it so you can't throw your shield into them and stun them. It makes it so they're not staggered by anything. You have to just lay bullets into them until it heats up and glows kind of like white hot red, and then you can throw your shield and it explodes. So besides your shield and heating up armor, the only three other ways that I know of, is to use the Chain Shot, use the shotgun, the Super Shotgun, or use your melee attacks, especially the flail, which gets rid of armor really easily. So those are the only ways. So if you're not prepared to take out armor, you're going to need to use one of those three things. So the Chain Shot just becomes almost too good. It's like the only ranged way of taking out armor without having to heat it up.
Yeah. No, I do. I completely agree. And I guess it leads to the question that I want to ask you. Difficulty and stuff aside, just playing the game, using the shield sword, these different weapons, were you having fun? Because
I was.
This is the thing. I know it sounds like we're being negative and constructive, but it's only because we bloody care about the game. I was still having fun, and it gets to the overall game and the pacing of it. There's a lot more exploration. There are the levels which are a little bit more open. The mini map is awesome. So I'm every level. I'm stoked to find all the secrets. I'm stoked to find all the power ups. I'm stoked. I love the end screen as you finish a chapter. It's like here's everything that you got. All the
here's
toys.
all the dopamine hits. Bam, bam, bam,
bam.
And
I was enjoying the cinematics. I like how they've taken the lore out of the codex, and you're watching these beautiful scenes. Whether the story was like, incredible or next level or not, I was still enjoying going through the motions, right? So playing the game,
is it amazing?
I'm having fun.
Is it an amazing story? No,
but you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
it does enough. I actually have fun playing the game. I actually want to go back playing the game. But it's when we get into discussions about difficulty and combat and variety and comparing it to a game like Doom Eternal, that's when the flaws, if you will, start to show.
Yeah. Okay, so just for clarity's sake, I really, really enjoyed the game. Like I enjoyed it to the point where I would give it that 7 or that 8, right? Well, that's really high for a first-person shooter, which typically I'm not a huge fan of. I really enjoyed it. And there was multiple reasons why I enjoyed it, which is why these little points, these little things like, damn, I wish there was a few more weapons, or damn, I wish the enemy variety had a bit more variance in their attack patterns. And just those little things, you're just like, okay, if those things were perfect, if the cinematics were a step in the right direction, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
But if they made more sense, if they were a little bit better, that bumps it up. All of those things would have bumped it up, and this would be a 9 out of 10 game. Comparing it to Eternal, you might not agree with me here, but like long term, I actually had more fun with the combat than I did with Eternal. And
wow, okay, all right. This might be the first point where you and I differ. So where are you coming from with that?
Yeah. Okay, so with Eternal, like you mentioned, a lot of verticality, very fast paced, heart was pumping. But did you play the DLC as well?
I did play the DLC. Ancient Gods, yeah.
Ancient Gods. I was just finding, man, I was just to increase the difficulty like they did with this game, it was just like throw the hardest enemy at you over and over and over again. And each time was like getting hit by that blue shell in Mario Kart, man. It was like heart was just racing. In this, I felt like I was having more fun in those moments where they're like increasing the difficulty, throwing more things at you. I was having more fun, and I was feeling like a badass. I was feeling more like it was more of that power fantasy for me. And there was little things that they improved upon that made it more enjoyable, like the sound design. Just the little things, like I mentioned this in a review as well, like just running, just the sound effect of hitting that run button is like, and then the wind blows past you, or landing on the ground is like a thud, or when you climb a wall, it's like you're digging metal claws into the wall and like scaling up. It just, everything felt so weighty, and there was so much tactile pleasure in playing it and listening to it. That's where I got my enjoyment from. I'm not sure about you.
No, dude, I'm the exact same. I mean, like even though I love Eternal, and I would probably say that I enjoyed playing Eternal more just because of the intensity of it, and part of me goes to Doom for that, right? But in terms of, I love the weightiness, I love the heaviness. What you were saying about running, and you feel that, like, it's like you feel the air going past your head.
Yeah,
it's, I don't know how to describe it, and the way that you jump, and when you jump, enemies just like explode around you. I think it works. I do think it feels really, really good.
Yeah,
it's maybe if there wasn't this over-reliance on the shield and the parrying, it would have been a little bit better.
See, that's where we agree. I think I enjoy the more power fantasy, feeling a bit more powerful in my games, whereas I think you like the challenge that Eternal gave. And that's, I think, where we differ. We both agree exactly what these games are.
100%.
Eternal for me was like, I felt like if I made one mistake, I was boned. I was done.
Yeah, you were screwed.
You were just, it's over. Like, 'cause you need to be constantly be on it. You hear that beep sound, and you're like, all right, I got to kill something quick, or I'm dead. Yeah. You're like looking to rip someone's heart out straight away. You know, it's like, okay. But in this, hearing that sound, you're like, oh, cool. Just relax, calm down, take a breath.
You're right. Yes.
Right?
Oh, you're so on point, man. Like when you heard the woo woo sound in Doom Eternal, you're like, I'm screwed. I'm boned. It's done.
Yeah,
but in Dark Ages, correct. But in Dark Ages, you just use your shield to launch to a scrub enemy to get some health, and you back away, and you're fine. So, like, I think you and I have completely nailed what Doom the Dark Ages is, and ultimately it comes down to preference. I think if you're that Doom player that likes the high intensity, the verticality, feeling pressured, and the heart rate every time you go into a new arena or setting in Doom Eternal, then you would prefer Doom Eternal. But if you like the slower pace, if you like feeling heavier, if you like exploring and finding the secrets, taking the opportunity just to feel to enjoy the game and the vibes and the setting, then you're going to like the Dark Ages more. Would that be fair to say?
That is completely fair. And that brings up another point, the exploration, right? I felt like I enjoyed that a lot more in this game than I did in Eternal. They really nailed, like, every single map now, I was like, I don't want to move on to the next level until I get every single secret. I didn't feel that way with Eternal, and definitely not 2016, right? Like, I was like, screw it, I'll just go ahead. But in this, it's like, all right, you open up the map, it might feel a little hand-holdy because they kind of show you where everything is. Yes. But at the same time, you still need to work it out. The puzzles aren't extremely intelligent. You don't need to do something that, would blow the IQ bank, right? Yeah. But it's all kind of satisfying. Like, you pick up a new toy, you look at it, you spin the little chain shield around on the Slayer doll.
Bro. I love it.
It all just kind of works, right? And
my favorite thing about Eternal were the toys when they introduced those as collectibles. Like, I have some of the real ones. Like, I love them that much, and I'm so glad they brought that back for the Dark Ages. Honestly, I see the Revenant behind you. We've both got the same Doom guy as well. We got the zombie, the Doom Slayer, and the Revenant. Yeah, I think I've got the collector's edition on the way. Like, so it's funny, Dantics. Like, we were talking about a lot of criticisms, but in a constructive way. But ultimately, we still enjoyed the game. We feel like there are things I could have taken it from that 8 to a 9. And it looked so beautiful, bro. Like, can we talk about the graphics for a second? It looked amazing. It looked amazing. Yeah. Look, I Nvidia, just spoil my review. Nvidia sent me a 50 series graphics card to kind of review this game as well. Hell yeah. And playing it on that, I switched from the 4090 to the 50 series, and I could tell the difference. I could play in 4K resolution.
I was getting over 200 frames per second on this thing, and getting high frames on this game is really good because you need it. Like, things move fast. You want to track everything on screen, right? 4K resolution, over 200 frames per second, and the thing was looking gorgeous all the time. I didn't have a single hiccup, not a single frame drop. It felt like I was never under 200 frames per second. There was never a crash to desktop. I never had any issues with the game. And this is, we both know preview builds always have issues, and they always tell you, look, at release is going to be a different build. You're just going to have to deal with this. And we do. A lot of reviews go into it like, we had these issues, but they probably won't be there, so we won't mention them, right? Like, that's usually how it goes. But this was perfect. And there was a few times, I'm not sure if you did the same thing, where I just stopped and watched the kind of like the little war going on between the demons and the humans, like in the background.
The big titans fighting and the
right. There was this one moment where this titan got like knocked over this Atlan mech, and I'm like, oh no, is he going to finish him? So I like stood there and watched it, and he's like swinging around. I'm like, oh, he's just going to move on. He's not going to finish the guy. What the hell? It was like those moments.
Those moments were cool, and we didn't even chat about being able to be in your own Atlan mech and doing the dragon. Like, the dragon, not my favorite.
All right, so this is one of the other points where I think this actually brought this down a point for me. So everything else, all the other criticisms we had, all of those other criticisms, it still would have been an 8 for me, right? It still would have been an 8. I would have bumped it. I would have been 8, 8.5. I loved this game. I had all the fun. It was the dragon sections and the Atlan mech sections that brought it down a whole point for me to the 7, I think.
No, really?
Because I felt like the pacing was okay for everything else. For, you get a new tool, they give you kind of enough time to play around with it in that level. They give you a few challenges, which is something we haven't mentioned, that let you kind of highlight those things. Like, there's a few times where I got a new rune on my shield, which would activate something new when you block. I would have to try it out because of the challenges, and I'd be like, oh, this is actually better than I thought. There was all those things, but I digress. The pacing was pretty good. You got a new weapon, you moved on, you found new enemies, you moved on. There was every single level, there was something new. But then it got to the dragon sections and the mech sections, and it just felt like this break of pace that you'd normally put in the game that needs a bit of a break. Like, you need a breather with. Like Doom Eternal, for example. You need a breather. You need those explore sections, because it's like, shit, my heart's going to just fly out of my chest.
I'm going to have a heart attack.
I'm going to have a heart attack with those. But with this, you didn't kind of need those sections. And they were so overly simplistic. All you needed to do was watch for green and then press the space bar or press the dodge button on your controller.
Yeah,
that was it. That was the extent of the system. And it was like, if you already kind of got down the parry mechanics already, it was no challenge at all. And the dragon, I don't know how a dev does this, but they made it boring. They made riding on a dragon mech with freaking twin chain guns on the back, they made it boring. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. They made riding in a giant 50-story mech boring somehow. I mean, I'm being overly critical here. Like, there were parts that were enjoyable. I was like, yeah, cool, I'm smashing it. But, they weren't. I found myself just wanting to be on foot again, which is very strange to say when you have a choice between a giant dragon and a giant mech and being on foot, right? But on foot, the sound design was so amazing that it's like, oh, well, I felt like more badass stomping around with my normal combat suit than I did in a giant mech, which is strange. I felt like it just had a different team working on it. What do you think?
So when they were describing it, I think they said something along the lines of, the fact that we didn't do multiplayer in Doom the Dark Ages like we did in Eternal allowed us to do the things like the Atlan mech and the dragon. And I actually enjoyed the Atlan mech because, yes, it was simplistic in the controls. I still felt awesome as this big giant dude punching on demons and using the guns when you picked up the gun, right? I didn't mind those. The dragon, though, got to me. And I said this in the preview build that we got the chance to play. Like, the firing mode, why does it lock you in and you're doing this? It just didn't feel fun, and
it felt awkward, didn't it? Like, if there was if they let you strafe with, like, say they said, okay, one button lets you launch your flamethrower. You never got to use fire on in a dragon, by the way. You didn't get to unless you were finishing off a
demon. A dragon.
You weren't spitting fire at all. Well, like, it was like, And that just clicked. It's like, why did they do that? Okay, down another point now. No, I'm kidding. But
no, I think your criticism, I think it's very valid. Like and look, partly you can say as well is because you were enjoying the other bits of combat and that you wanted to get back to it, right?
I wanted to get back to that stuff that I was enjoying. And you notice on the dragon sections, there were parts where there'd be this fighter that would fly off and it'd have this green trail that you'd have to follow and you have to shoot it down to get gold.
Freaking things, man.
Just so going back and revisiting them, I'm like, I'm not shooting this thing. And what it does is it freaking waits for you. It waits for. So it is a clever way of directing your attention to the place you need to go. Because a lot of these dragon sections were these big open areas, a lot of place you can fly. They're like, okay, well, we don't know that these guys know where to go after this particular part of the mission. So we're going to put this fighter jet to fly towards your mission location and you have to shoot it down. Yet you're only really allowed to kill it when you get to the destination. So it's like this kind of, it's a cheeky way of doing it, but it feels almost dirty learning those mechanics.
What I found as well in the dragon levels, I don't know if you encountered this, every level where you're on foot, it was easy to find all the secrets, but the dragon levels, there was one level where I was stuck at 90%. I'm like, where am I missing?
Is that the one where you need to go all the way down and like there's this like area you need to land, right?
Yeah, it probably is because like in that open map, it doesn't show the secrets like it does regularly. So like you have to really go and find where the secrets are because it's only until you land where you know that there's a toy to pick up or whatever, or gold to pick up, whatever it might be. So there was one of the dragon levels I had to play twice and I still didn't get all the secrets. The second one, I was like, like why can't I find all these things? And I got frustrated and I
know exactly what you mean because everyone's going to go through the same thing. We want to get all the secrets and it's like, where the hell? Like you can't just look at the map. The map is really well done. It's like you can kind of move this 3D kind of map around and you can see where everything is. And it makes it so you can kind of know where you need to go next if you want to collect all the secrets. Except with the dragon missions, like you mentioned, it doesn't quite show you where you need to go because you need to land the dragon somewhere to pick up those secrets. And the places you land aren't really telegraphed in any way until you get close. So there was one in the second level where you ride the dragon. There's one like hidden underneath all of this stuff that you wouldn't know was there because this fighter jet flies off and takes you in the other direction. So you're meant to actually go the other way to get to this secret. And it's like, you dogs. It's like,
Dude,
I want to shoot this down for the gold, man. I need the gold. We need the gold to upgrade weapons and armor, which we'll talk about soon. But
we haven't even talked about that. I seriously think the one thing that I'll say about the map was easy to use, super easy to navigate and maneuver. I feel like I was going into the map a little bit too much though. Like, because I was like, where's the secret? I thought maybe since the map shows you roughly where the secrets are anyways, a mini map would have been nice.
Well, the ability to pin your next destination, which also they can let you do.
Yes.
There's a lot of times where I'm like, the only reason I keep opening this, I open it like 4 times in the space of 30 seconds, is because I couldn't pin exactly which corridor I needed to go down. If I could do that, it'd be like, but yeah, a mini map would have been great too. Like Doom / Diablo 2, where you can kind of like put the mini map over your screen or something like that.
Just roughly let you know that there's a secret somewhere here, so you're not always having then maybe if you need, go into the bigger map and really figure out which path you need to go down. But I would have loved
I feel like they wanted to go like super simplistic with the UI. That's probably why they kind of removed it. The UI was good, but anyway, continue.
Yeah. So what have we missed out on? Because we've talked about the story, like we talked about the weapons and the combat and the dragon and the Atlan mech. Like, is there anything like major that you feel like someone needs to know before maybe potentially purchasing Doom of the Dark Ages? What do you reckon?
It takes about 21 hours, 22 hours to complete 100% if you're playing on a regular difficulty. So if you're looking for an incredibly long game where you can just devote all your attention to, this probably won't be it. But I felt like it didn't linger on anything. It was just all action. It was all new maps. It was all new things. Like you were never just like needing to fetch quest anything. So it wasn't wasted time. So those are 22 hours of just nonstop enjoyment and action, right? Except for the dragon sections. But they were few and far between. If you go into it expecting it to be some kind of hardcore RPG, it isn't. We didn't mention before, but you can invest your gold, rubies, and wraith stones into your weapons.
Yep.
your shield, and your melee weapons, which are separate to your regular weapons. You have to press a button to activate those, and you have to equip them in your menu.
Yeah.
So you're encouraged to explore just so you can upgrade all of these things. And there is an upgrade path for everything. But by the end of the game, you can have upgraded everything if you do explore. So it's not really an RPG in that way. You just have to kind of choose which weapons you like the most out of the first half of the game.
Yeah.
Other than that, if you're the kind of person that really likes the tactile pleasure of playing something that is just well put together, like great sound design, we haven't talked about the fact that if you use something like the shredder and just shoot a particular portion of a zombie's leg, that part is going to fly off like a chunk of skin.
Yeah.
It is so
It's
well
so
done.
cool. Yeah.
I actually had to include that section in my review, and I'm like, this is going to get flagged by YouTube, right? Like, it's just, it's too gory. But you can like rip apart enemies to the point where there was, I only noticed it because it was so like, the pacing was so good. I only really noticed it when I shot off a Mancubus's hand, and it stopped using as many ranged attacks as it did before. So you can dismember creatures. So if you like all of those little things, those little details that really get you up in the morning to play video games, I think you'd really enjoy this. But if you've come into it expecting this really rich and detailed storyline, or expect something to really blow you away in terms of like something hasn't been done before, or you expecting to go into it not picking on little problems here and there and not expecting little things to kind of go awry, it's probably not for you. But overall, I think there's nothing like I said, it's a chicken dinner at a fancy restaurant, right? Like if you're okay with not having the best game in the world, you're going to get something that's definitely not the worst. It's up there. It's in that range where you're not going to be disappointed. That's what I feel. That's how I feel, at least. What about you?
I really think the description of like this is this is not Endgame Avengers movie, but it's like
it's not
one of the regular Marvel movies. Like this is something that I think every Doom fan should play, and I think you'll get a level of enjoyment. It might not hit the highs for Doom Eternal. It might not be your favorite Doom game in the world, but I think it's very much worth the time. I think there's a lot of good with it. I still think the combat can be fun. The weightiness, the controls, the tactileness, as you said, the sounds, the graphics, the cinematics. I think there is a lot there for people to enjoy, especially if you have Game Pass. This is a no-brainer.
If you have Game Pass, just no-brainer. No, absolutely pick it up, try it out.
Yeah. It's an absolute no-brainer, but I would even say, like, if you've ever enjoyed a Doom game in the past, if you enjoyed Doom Eternal or even Doom 2016, older classic Dooms, this is worthwhile playing, right? But I think definitely go in with your expectations tempered a little bit. I don't think that if you go in thinking this is going to be the greatest Doom game in the world and this is the next Doom game that you were hoping for, then maybe some of you might be let down a little bit. I think temper your expectations a little.
It's not like going from what we experienced. What was the game before Doom 2016? It's not like going from that to 2016, right? Like that was just this huge jump where, wow, this has changed how Doom plays. Don't expect that. And don't do what we did and expect it to be the next Eternal almost, like going into it, I really enjoyed Eternal. Let's see what the next chapter can be. So I agree with you, but also to the same point, I think a few people that didn't like Eternal might actually like this.
You're right.
So if you're someone that plays, like, I wouldn't go into this saying that pick this up if you like shooters, because there's a lot of people that play shooters that won't enjoy this. They won't enjoy the fact that it is, I hate to say it, you think it's going to be fantasy, but it's sci-fi still. It's not a medieval game. So if you don't like sci-fi, you're not going to like this. You just won't. There's not really any guns that have that COD feel to it or that Battlefield feel to it.
Yeah.
So it definitely has a very niche audience that is hard to really nail down for me. It just feels like if you like the power fantasy, if you like what you see, I'm sure you'll put some previews up on screen what the game is like. If you like what you see, if you like that action, if you like the tactile pleasure of hearing skin melting off the flesh of demons, I mean, I mean, I hate to say it, maybe I'm crazy, but it just hits right,
Fair. If you were to give it a final score out of 10, And gun to your head, you can't be like, oh, it's this range. What's your number? What is your number?
I'd say 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I'd say
I think
it's
that's
like
fair. Yeah.
Captain America First Avengers.
It's
like that movie.
It's a good comparison, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's an enjoyable movie. It's actually my wife's favorite out of the Marvel series. And you feel a little bit like Captain America in this game. So if you actually do like that fantasy, this is it. Because you get an upgrade very early on with the shield that makes it sort of bounces off the laser shields. And just like it bounces around the screen and just wrecks them. And anyone else with like a lit up shield, it's just like, I don't know, the physics they've done with it is really good. And then once all the armor pickups kind of all come at you at once, there's just this blast of sound effect that sounds really cool too.
And we didn't even talk about that when a bunch of the enemies are holding the shields and you superheat it and then you throw it and it's like, oh, it's so satisfying. It's like sick.
You're like Mario when he's got the metal power up. He's just like sweet.
Dude, I've loved this chat so much. I think we've really nailed Doom the Dark Ages and what it is.
So what did you like score wise for you before we move on? What did you think? 8 as well. So we're both in the same.
Yeah. I think it's going to be, if I was to guess what the Open Critic Metacritic score is going to be, final score on average, I think it's going to be 81. Like 81, I think that's where it's going to fall. Ask me, it's an 8 out of 10.
Yep. I think 8 out of 10 as well, but I think people have become harder to please these days. So
true.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Metacritic score is like sitting just high 70s, but it's definitely somewhere there, right? Yeah. It's definitely somewhere there. And I think we nailed the fact that you liked the really intense, challenging action, fast-paced kind of flying through the sky of Eternal. And I liked having a bit more time to kind of like plan my move out and really explore the map and enjoy what the game has to offer. But we both still really enjoyed this title and we both still gave it the same score. So if we were to,
man, we say 8 and everyone's like, oh, 8's a low score nowadays. I'm like, no, it's not. 8's a good score.
See, this is why I hate giving scores. This is why I hate reviews, because it's like the range now is 7 to 10. That's it. That's what games are. Man. If it's a 7, it's a bad game now, you know?
Yeah.
And that sucks because there are so many games where it's like, look, it's not quite an 8, but it's still good and you should still check it out.
Yeah.
But I think this game is definitely, if you're not paying full price for it, like it's on Game Pass, it's a no-brainer at all. If you need to pay for this game, I think check out some of the reviews. Obviously, you've gone through this podcast already, so you kind of know what we think. But what we really didn't kind of explain is all our criticisms come from a place that we would have liked to see different, to give it that, 9 or 10,
Yeah. That's
where it comes from. It's a really good game. It has some problems, but the problems are obvious. Yes. I think the problems kind of stand out. Whereas some games you're like, I'm not enjoying this. Like on paper, this should be a good game. I should be having a lot of fun. And here's a controversial opinion. The Last of Us 1 and 2, on paper, those are really excellent games. And I can understand why everyone loves them and there's some people's favorite games, but I just couldn't get into them.
Fair
enough. And I love story-based games. I'm on my channel, I'm the Mass Effect guy and I'm really involved in all those story-based games, but that kind of game, I would not give a 10. I would not even give a 9. I would give maybe a 7 or an 8, if I had to rate it based on what I enjoyed. Whereas a game like this, it's like, I know the obvious problems, but I'm really having fun.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's fair. I think it's completely fair. And I'm based just on what I'm seeing, I think the reviews are going to line up with exactly what we're saying. Especially on the difficulty point. As I said, I'm not like sitting here thinking I'm the best at shooters and Doom games. I'm not. That's why it surprised me so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do want to ask you though. We're almost reached the 1 hour point, and you covered this game on your channel. So we've talked about Doom in the Dark Ages. Can I just ask you, man, what do you think of Oblivion Remastered? Before we go,
look. Okay. I played Oblivion when it first came out.
Sure.
So
okay. Yeah.
I've got a bit of nostalgia there. Yeah. But I didn't finish it. Because I was too young. I finished the crap out of Skyrim. I loved it. I loved everything about Skyrim. This remaster, I went back and played it, and I really enjoyed it. All the jank was there. Yes! It was like nostalgia, but like brought up to what my tiny teenager brain thought it was at the time. You go back and replay the old one now, it looks garbage. But back then, this is what it looked like to me. And playing it now, it's like, I'm glad they kept all the jank in it. I'm glad they kept all the weird conversations in it, all the problems. I absolutely loved it, to the point where I was making a few videos on it. I actually stopped making videos because I'm like, I'm just going to enjoy this. Because for those that don't know, when you're actually recording for video's sake, it's kind of fun. It kind of sucks the fun out of it. It sucks does. Because even playing Doom, like I enjoyed it so much, but I'm not even joking. Every half minute, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, I would have to stop what I'm doing, stop the recording, type a little note out on the recording I just made, and then go back to it. Because if you don't do that, when it comes time to write your review, do the guides, all that stuff, you can't find your footage. You have to scrub through 20-something hours of footage. You can't remember what things bothered you. You can't remember what things you loved. You have to just disrupt everything about the game. And I played Oblivion like that at the start, and then I just turned that off and like, I'm just going to enjoy this game. It was actually, that's a good point with Doom as well. You know, if I didn't have to record, I think I would have enjoyed it much more as well.
Can I be honest? This goes to a discussion that I've wanted to have for a very long time. And it's partly the reason why I've slowed down content creation and got into podcasting, because I've recorded gameplay, but I've not needed to take the notes that I would have to if I was doing a proper formal review. Like when you need to get gameplay that's relevant and you're writing a script, etc., it does ruin the fun. It really does.
It does.
Whereas in the past few months, like, and Bethesda is like, again, because I believe that Doom: The Dark Ages is a good game. I believe they've been on a tear. I started Indiana Jones, right? And I was like, I'm playing this, and I was like, let's go. I'm playing it. I'm only at the start. I was enjoying it, and then freaking Oblivion Remastered shadow dropped. If you remember, there were some teasers and stuff. I'm like, crap, I gotta change to that. So I was enjoying that, going to Oblivion Remastered. I put like 40 hours into there. In fact, I started a new character. I was like, I'm gonna get this right perfect the second time. So I still have that sitting there. And then Doom: The Dark Ages, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do the podcast episode properly about it to at least produce some sort of review coverage, and hence this episode. Even that a little bit affected my enjoyment of the game, because I'm like thinking of what to say and I'm recording. I'm like, what am I doing? You know?
You don't get immersed like you would. And I know it sounds like we're complaining. We're absolutely not. We're love doing what we do. Both of us do. And even offline, Lone and I, when we speak, it's always like we love doing what we do, and we're very lucky to be doing what we do. But there is that thing there. Like my hobby is playing games, and now every time I want to do my hobby offline, it's always like, I really want to play this game, but I can't, because my mind just wants me to play something that I can get footage for, or that I can cover in some way, because otherwise I'm not utilizing my time correctly. So it's almost like you lose your hobby in a way, and that translates over to journalists like IGN and all these big guys. When you read their reviews and you watch their reviews, you've got to consider that, one, they've got to write a review. So they're recording and they're writing while they're essentially playing, right? And they've got to do it quickly because they need to get their things out in a schedule. So me, these other reviewers, journalists, all of us will not have the same experience as people at home will. So we might come at it like, oh, you know, it lingered on this section too long, or this went on too. There's a lot of reviews like that where I'm like, that doesn't sound right when I played it just for me. It's because you know, in that position, you know that you need to rush it out, and and those little things that wouldn't bother you normally do. But this game, I really, really enjoyed, even while having to stop the pacing every now and then. You know, every minute minimum. I still really, really enjoyed it. So I mean, it's an 8. It's an 8 for you.
Mm-hmm. I think, Ben, I think you've summarized it perfectly, and this is probably a really good point to end episode 8 of Lone Vault Radio. So, brother, I appreciate you jumping on. We had technical issues out the wazoo, but I'm so glad that we found a solution, because this has been, honestly, a really, really enjoyable chat. I've loved having you on. Before you leave, please tell everyone where they can find you, what you do, and I'll include all your links in the description below. Thanks, man. No, I really enjoyed chatting with you as well. This has been a long time coming. I'm Dantics, so you could just go to youtube.com/Dantics. I upload mostly RPG content, but I do branch out here and there with Bethesda stuff, for example. My main focus is on games like Mass Effect. There'll be a lot of stuff coming up in the future with that, with Borderlands 4 very soon. I will be covering the next GTA. I mean, who
wouldn't be. I mean, it just looks absolutely incredible. So if you're interested in any of the things, that's where you can find me.
Legend, man. Thank you so much again. If you've been watching or listening to this point, I really appreciate you. Like, subscribe if you're new. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourselves. And would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.